Welcome back to another video, and today I'll be discussing the newest makeup announcements and releases. Welcome back, and today we'll be discussing the newest makeup announcements and releases that have been made during the last week or so. About today's video, I would say that there's gonna be a couple of sneak peeks that I'll be covering at the end of the video, purely because the products have not been launched at the time that I'm filming this, but we kind of have few sneak peeks. I'm gonna be covering then my sort of like initial thoughts about those products, but otherwise I'd say that there has been quite a few, I'd say, indie releases during this week. I have to say Blend Bunny is certainly, I feel that I've been talking now on my every single like quite recent makeup news video I've been talking about Blend Bunny, so Blend Bunny is definitely on a roll. I'm a bit now starting to think that is this bit maybe too many launches for one single indie brand, considering that it's been, as I said, quite a few Blend Bunny launches, though couple of previous ones have been relaunches, but still they have been product launches nonetheless, so I'll be discussing that once we get to this week's Blend Bunny release that we'll be discussing. But otherwise, there are, aside from indie brands, a couple of high-end releases, and I think that covers mainly the topics about this video. The second video of this week that you will be getting is one of my very long overdue makeup review video. These are products that I tried. Some of these I tried already during like the end of spring, so yeah, we are very much lagging behind, and I hope that next week you will be able to get the Sea Beauty review that I did from the that I've been now testing the YesStyle products that I just managed to get in before I was traveling, and then let's maybe see. I probably will not try to do a third review video on the row, because I do like to mix a bit of content on my channel so it doesn't get too boring. So after the Sea Beauty review, there's probably gonna be 1 week when I'm gonna be doing something else as the second video, and then I'm gonna be slowly starting testing out the products that I got while I was traveling. So those are the products, those are gonna be the products you saw on the makeup haul video during last week. But that's a bit about the sort of video planning for the next foreseeable future, but let's start talking about the makeup news stuff that I had for this particular video. Alright then, so first one an indie release. So this is actually a very small eyeshadow palette, so this is from Clionadh Cosmetics, and if you especially have been around indie makeup community for a while, Clionadh is known, I believe they are a Canadian-based brand, and they are known for their multi-chrome shadows, and I do especially think what I think makes these special is that I do believe these are hand pressed. These are pretty pricey, especially if you are shipping this outside to Canada. I have heard from quite a few like European-based YouTubers who have reviewed Clionadh on their channel that yes, the shadows are very beautiful and high quality, but also importing them to Europe is quite pricey. So with them especially, I think if you are ordering them outside from Canada, I would maybe look for sales, because I do know Clionadh does few sales during the year when they do try to restock most of their stuff and have people buy them. But this particular 6-pan is the Galápagos palette, so this is based on very much a Archipelago themed palette, and it has 6 shades. The shades are very pretty. I'm not a person, because I do have quite of an extensive, at this point, indie brand collection with special shadows, so for me this kind of thing isn't worth it. But if you are looking for some high quality indie shadows, you maybe want to try something from Clionadh, but for example buying singles on the website is a bit too daunting for you. Buying this kind of pre-made palette with 6 shades would be kind of good, and then because it's only like a 6 shade palette, you are probably still not gonna be like, if you end up not liking the shadows, then you at least have not spent like horrendous amounts of money to these special indie shimmer singles. But yeah, I think for those people who are just getting into indie shadows and want to try Clionadh, this kind of 6-pan would maybe be a good way to try out the brand first time. Then the launch that I was actually kind of referring to in my makeup haul video. So Catrice seasonal update is here. I have also seen, as I touched upon in the makeup haul video during last week, that I have also seen some sneak peeks already about the Essence seasonal haul, but from Catrice, there's like now at least, I was able to, from Glam Junkie had finally put a compilation of like the products so far from the Catrice, and I think these are most of the products. I believe I saw one YouTuber saying that these were momentarily available on Boozy Shop. I have a bit of a suspicion that the initial launch on the Catrice seasonal edits products, that the initial launch on Boozy Shop's website, it must have happened during the week when I was traveling, and obviously when I was traveling I was not constantly looking at makeup websites, because obviously I had like other things to think about when I was traveling, and I was obviously shopping in stores rather than online. But this had been momentarily available on Bookshop. However, the initial launch of these seasonal updates, these usually sell out every time, and it's probably going to take a while for these to restock. And I think most recently I saw someone posting that if you live in Germany, you can get some now of the products also on DM, so not only the two like pre-launch products, but also like other products that were not included in the in-store pre-launches. Now about the seasonal launch, we are having a lot as always, or we maybe with Catrice getting to a point that I would maybe hope this would be a bit better curated. There are quite a few products that if you shopped from the K-Beauty launch that was happened during the beginning of the year, you're actually going to see some of those products in the makeup review video that I'm going to be having. So I'm kind of thinking that if you did manage to buy some products from the K-Beauty inspired launch, you probably are not going to need everything from this launch. So we are getting some more, I believe, liquid blushes. The liquid blushes are very much looking to probably dupe the Dior's liquid blushes, at least based on the packaging style. Then we have the cushion blushes and the highlighters, and I believe actually the highlighter and the 3 cushion blush shades, those were specifically all the shades that were included in the K-Beauty sort of like pre-launch of these products during the beginning of the year, and I actually have I'll have the one single highlighter shade, and I actually do have one of the blush shades. So in terms of those, at least I don't like when these are going to be available again, a bit more easily accessible for me also. I can skip those easily because I have already those products. Then we are getting 2 variations of these glossy opaque lip products that we have been now seeing from quite a lot of brands. We have some new mascaras. There are some corrector. I believe the corrector shade or the under the potted concealer is something that someone might have said that this already has existed within Catrice line. This is probably just a reformulation. The foundation of this one is something that I would like to try. So I believe I have seen one person who did manage to get the foundation. I believe this is more supposed to be like a satin finish kind of foundation, so the foundation is something that I'm looking to buy. And then we got, actually there's like 1 face palette and 2 new of the rectangular eyeshadow palettes. The Cool Tone Rosy one is actually something that I am kind of thinking that it's something that I would maybe try. My luck with these Catrice's eyeshadow palettes have been a bit hit and miss. One of them I was not a fan of. Then the coffee themed one is actually one of the best Catrice palettes that I think at least I think I have tried from them for quite a while. So yeah, that would probably go to maybe list. Then there are the liquid lipsticks that were also, there were like I think 3 shades available in the K-Beauty collection, and I again did manage to get one. You are going to be seeing my review of that one. As a sneak peek for the review, the liquid lipstick formula maybe wasn't something that I was super fan of. Then there were some lip oils, there were some primer products, I think there might be some eyeshadow sticks included. Then we get this sort of more lip stain markers that we've been seeing from quite a few brands, so Catrice now has their variation. And then there is I believe the primer is also, and the cushion foundation were also featured in the K-Beauty Edit launch. So there are quite a few launches here that, as I said, if you did manage to shop the K-Beauty inspired launch, you are probably like good in terms of some of the products. But for me, there are a few things that I'm gonna shop from this, but definitely not the whole launch. Like obviously when you look at the amount of products, like nobody needs to get this many products from one single launch, so I think I'm pretty good in terms of the fact that I don't need like everything, but there are like quite a few things that I'm interested from this specific seasonal launch. So curious to see once I will get a bit more of a comprehensive impression of what is available on the Essence Edit. So let's see, is that maybe something that I will be shopping more from compared to a Catrice one. Then let's get to other releases. So Viseart has launched yet another eyeshadow palette. So this is the Bon Bon Praline Etundu palette. I believe it was already with the last Viseart palette. I went like that, could we maybe please mix it up a little bit? Clearly that's not happening, at least with this one. So this is what I would say a very brown leaning palette with a pop of what I would say like little bit like rosy leaning shades, but I would not say even pink shades, I would say more like rosy brown shades. I mean, for someone looking for a good everyday palette, this could be an option if you want something a bit rosier, but you definitely don't want any kind of pink. But for me, it's just with Viseart, because I feel that they are now so heavily relying on these palette releases, and since they are not doing that many like other makeup products these days, and because they are very much staying on the same lane with the palette color stories, this is just beginning to be a bit repetitive for one single brand. Then from Too Faced, so this is the Born This Way Super Coverage Brighten and Correct Concealer. So is this a because there was a concealer on the Born This Way line before, if I'm not completely mistaken. So I'm thinking that is this a reformulation, or it's a Brighten and Correct Concealer, so is it maybe more that some of these shades might be a bit more like corrector type of shades rather than... Yeah, because there aren't like actually for a concealer range, there isn't like that many shades, and even though like Too Faced, I think previously they used to get critiqued quite a lot for the fact they didn't cater to that many skin tones. I do think in terms of these days their like foundation line and concealer lines have improved, but I think because there's only like genuinely like 6 different shades, that this is more of a corrector rather than a concealer line. So yeah, for me, Too Faced these days, unfortunately, I just don't feel that their products stand up enough from the masses of makeup products we get from these days. So for me, this is a skip. But if you had been looking a corrector shade from Too Faced, something like this is now available. So Beauty Bay has launched a new eyeshadow palette, and I believe this is now the first proper palette release they have had under the new ownership. But again, we don't know, was this actually a product that was already planned and made put into production under the previous ownership, or is this genuinely now something that done with the new owners? So this is the Mini Charms Bright 9 colors palette, so they are continuing with this Mini Charm palette line. I believe these 9 pans have been pretty popular, because at least on their website I looked at 2 previous one that they have launched have been sold out, so these have been pretty popular, so it makes sense that they are bringing these out more. So I think if you are looking for an all shimmer rainbow palette at a 9 pan and Beauty Bay's pricing is pretty decent, I do think this might be a good option to try out. I certainly don't need an all shimmer palette, but I do think for someone shopping at a drugstore price point, something like this could be very fun, especially if you otherwise have like matte leaning palettes, or for example if you're kind of person that you otherwise very much like your like neutral shades, but for example as a shimmer you occasionally like a pop of color, then something like this could be interesting. So it's not for me, but I can kind of see that there probably is a customer for this one. Tarte is bringing out a new contour product, so this is the Snatch stick, and in this one there's actually there's a very small looking brush at the other end of the product. I myself am not a fan of this where they combine brushes with the product. Like with some brow products are an exception. With those I can understand, because the brush is kind of a pretty essential part of getting the brow product to spread out. But I'm kind of thinking that with this one, because the brush doesn't look, at least in the images, it doesn't look to be that high of quality, and especially because this is a contour product, I'm maybe thinking that the brush should be maybe a bit bigger. Sure, contour brushes generally aren't the most fluffiest and biggest ones, but generally I think that for at least unless you're doing very precise like nose contouring, so for nose contouring this could actually be a very good product, or if you're doing some very defined areas, but I'm maybe not excited about the fact that the combination, because I'm questioning the quality of the brush. A bit unsure, are these all the shades? I mean, the deepest shade is looking pretty deep. The fair, however, I am kind of at least based on the images, the 3 shades in the middle are looking quite similar, so I'm a bit unsure in the image that if this is the whole shade range. If it is, I'm then a bit maybe meh, because I don't think there's enough differentiation, especially with the middle shades, but it could be that these are only part of the shades available. NARS is coming out with a new mascara, so this is the Notorious mascara. I do have to say the mascara wand is at least looking quite nice. It's a bit of a skinnier wand, and there is actually a also brown option already available. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of information otherwise that what kind of formula this is meant to be. That is it supposed to be a tube-in formula, which seems to be pretty popular these days with mascaras, or is it more of a traditional formula? But I think again this is something already available, and as I said, the wand, it's a nice skinny one, so at least for me this would be quite of a nice mascara to use. So then to the Blend Bunny release. So Blend Bunny came out with a second collaboration with Maycroft. So they did the previous palette, it was mold inspired, and I already said when I covered that in a makeup news video that while I thought the color story inside was interesting. I could not get over the mold theme. Like, I did not want to associate putting like mold inspired eyeshadow on my eyes, because the association was just completely wrong. It was nothing against the collaborator. I do think the color story was pretty unique, and I do have to give credit. I also think that this color story is pretty unique. It's more of what I'd say muted colorful shades. And then there is actually a second palette belonging to this collection, and that palette has actually one row of shimmers, which is nice because just like the previous single palette in the collaboration, the bigger palette in this case, it's an all matte palette, which I do believe goes with the kind of style of makeup that the collaborator likes to do. But it is, you could kind of buy one like a smaller palette of iridescent shimmers with the first collaboration, but because those were very like iridescent shimmers, it's not some kind of like I like my shimmers to be more opaque and showy rather than these topper like shimmers, so it wasn't for me. Now, considering that the big list of Blend Bunny palettes currently that are kind of on my maybe want to buy list, and adding this to that one, like as I said, I feel Blend Bunny has been maybe launching a bit too many products. I do get it that the Dollhouse palette and the revamped Blends palette, like obviously those were relaunches and improved variation of the previous one, but still, but they also did have a new, because they did have the summer launch, which had the very big palette, and then there were the face palettes and the lip oils included in that one. So yeah, so this actually isn't like the only new collection that they have come out with recently. So I hope that Blend Bunny would maybe slow down a little bit. It's quite a lot of launches. Regarding this collection, I believe the collection is already available on Blend Bunny's own website, and it's probably is gonna come to Monolith Shop at some point, so keep your eyes out on Monolith Shop social media. They are probably gonna be posting once this is available. But as I said, especially the all matte palette in this case, with this one I can get much more, because I believe the theme of this one collection is Flora and Fauna, so it's a much more, how should I say, palatable theme for an eyeshadow palette rather than the mold theme that was the previous one. But I am kind of liking the color story of the all matte palette, but I do need my shimmers, so I would have to like kind of consider that what kind of, like I would have to dig out something to be able to work with this particular palette, because I'm not just a person who likes doing all matte looks. But I do, as I said, I like this collection, and I do like the fact that there is the smaller palette that has also shimmers included, and overall I think I like this much more than the original collection they made with Maycroft. Then RMS Beauty, so they are launching a new face palette. So this is the ReDimension Daily Glow palette. So it's an all highlighter palette. So 2016 is certainly back. So yeah, I mean, I kind of did see the comeback of highlighters. I do think especially during last year, it was a very busy year, and we kind of saw these fun, colorful highlighters coming back into the trend. So RMS Beauty is one of these more like, I would say, high-end, like bigger high-end brands, so I think it's like usually takes a bit more time for them to catch up. RMS Beauty is personally not a brand that I'm particularly usually interested in, but I do think that if you've been wanting to try out highlighters from them, maybe this kind of highlighter palette would be a cost-effective way of getting quite many of them. However, I do have to say, especially when you look at the shades in this one, you are probably gonna run with the issue that you are not probably gonna be able to use all the shades, because for example, for me personally, I think the two upper shades would be okay, but I do think the lower ones would be already something that would probably be too dark on my skin tone, but also on the, like if you flip it around, someone with a richer skin tone than they would be probably able to use the two lower ones, but then the two upper ones would be too, I would say, pale for them. So that's a bit of the issue that I always have with especially highlighter palettes, that it's hard to make one single palette that fits every face. So Arttitude Cosmetics has also launched a new collection. This is actually quite fun. So this is the Equanimity. I have no idea that did I pronounce the collection correctly. So Equanimity collection. So with this collection there are two highlighters and then there's an eyeshadow palette. The eyeshadow palette is pretty fun. Not maybe the kind of colorful palette that I would like, I think that I need to get, but I do think that if you generally, because I have tried Arttitude on my channel, I do think their eyeshadow quality is pretty good, though I will have to say the shimmers, at least in the Ink and Roses palette that I tried, those did crease on me. So if you have an eyelid type that is prone to creasing, then this isn't maybe a brand that I would 100% recommend, but I do also have to say their matte quality was pretty nice. So I think if you want this sort of like more colorful summer palette into your collection and you want to try Arttitude, the eyeshadow palette could be something to get. I have no idea what kind of highlighter quality they have, so maybe I would guide you to other YouTubers who have already like maybe reviewed this one. So maybe if you are interested in the highlighter formula, look for some videos that is the highlighter or something that's gonna suit your particular skin type. But I do think like this is pretty like, it's a fun collection, even if it's not something that is of interest for me. Okay, then a couple of sneak peeks, and first one is a palette that I did refer in my last makeup news video. So apparently the Natasha Denona has yet again the issue that some retailer has put out the palette, new palette of hers for sale before it has been officially announced. So the I Need a Cool palette, as I said, by the time I'm talking about this one, it has not been officially announced. However, this isn't the first sneak peek that I am seeing from this one. I already think I saw the first one, like it was already before my summer trip. And I do have to say, like, seeing this one, if we would not have the I Need a Nude in the collection and then the other very like much older cool tone palette that she had, if those two palettes, I don't remember the name of it right now because that's a very old palette and I don't personally own that one. So if we would not have those two palettes in Natasha Denona's line, then I could say that this definitely has a place in her line. But I do have to say, and I did already refer to this in the previous video when I talked about the mini Bloom palette, this is a bit too many neutral palettes for being in one single eyeshadow palette line, and considering that Natasha Denona has like very huge amount of palettes like within her makeup line. And I would be more, as someone who actually has a cool rosy undertone and who would probably like otherwise enjoy this palette, like I would be more excited about this one, but I already have the I Need a Nude palette, and at least based on this image that I have seen and also like the other sneak peek image that I have seen before this one, like I think they are like too similar. Yes, it's I think a hair of more cool tone leaning than the I Need a Nude, but at least for me currently, this doesn't look that it's different enough from what I, for example, have from Natasha Denona and what there generally is available on Natasha Denona's products. So yeah, I'm not excited about this one. I really, as I said when I talked about the mini Bloom palette last week, I think we really would need to switch it up a little bit. We have seen like too many like now neutral palettes for such a short time span. I think we need to mix it up a little bit because it's getting a bit too samey with Natasha Denona, which is such a shame because I do think, especially from like high-end eyeshadow palette formulas, I do think Natasha Denona does it best in terms of color stories. Her formula is not my absolute favorite, but I do think for a lot of people it's a very good formula to work with. So yeah, not excited about this one. I am waiting for like the official release and maybe seeing like a bit more like actual like photos and reviews and seeing like maybe what other people think. But so far I am not impressed with this one, and this is coming from someone who actually has a cool undertone. So for me this would otherwise be perfect, but I have the I Need a Nude. I don't need this one. This is like too similar to that one. Okay, then something that if this will be revealed by the time that I am editing this one, and I usually edit so for those of you who don't know, I usually film on Sundays, then I do the editing on Mondays with the makeup news videos, and then I usually post them on Wednesdays, so there's a bit of a gap when I film these and when these launch. So Cosmic Beauty is coming out with the Sun palette, so this is continuing with the Tarot theme palettes, and there's one sneak peek of this one already, but if there is more or if the full palette has been launched when I'm editing this on Monday, then you are gonna see the full palette, but we're gonna discuss the palette like more in depth on next week's video. But because this is already like launching during next week, so that's why I thought that I'm gonna cover this now, and then I'm gonna talk about it more when it's already launched. So this is launching actually on the 31st of July, so as I said, next week, 6 p.m. UK time. So is it next week Sunday? I think it's Sunday, but I'm gonna actually check on the calendar so I'm not getting the date wrong. Actually it's Friday, oh my, so that is gonna be... Am I gonna be buying this one? At least based on the cover and the initial sneak peek that I've seen the color story, like this looks to be everything so far that I want from summer palette. So if I would have to say from color story, there's probably something orange, something yellow and something pink, and I'm hoping that there might be some other fun pop of colors. And it's launching on Sunday, 6 p.m. UK time, and yeah, this is looking very tempting. So I'm already excited about this one, even if I haven't yet seen the insides. Or we have seen like one sneak peek of the insides, and even with that one sneak peek, it's already looking like very promising. And I'm thinking that yeah, this might be something to get. So I'm very excited about this one, and as I said, you might have already seen the full color story when this video goes live or not, but we're gonna be discussing this like as a comprehensive palette during next week when it has been already like, because it's already like obviously available when I'm gonna be filming next week. But this release, unlike the Natoshi Donono one, this one I am excited about because based on the cover so far, this looks very promising for me. Those were the launches that I had to discuss for today. So in terms of like what am I interested in, as I did cover in my sort of trial makeup haul video, during the next month I'm gonna be buying lots of makeup because obviously like I'm very packed in terms of like the new makeup to test. But in terms of like eyeshadow palettes, I did make the disclaimer because eyeshadow palettes, especially what is available in stores, has not been that exciting. We definitely saw from this video, I think that indie is definitely still leading in terms of like leading in terms of launching interesting palettes, because I think both of the releases, so the Maycroft release with Blend Money and the new Cosmic Brushes palette, or Cosmic Beauty, sorry, I always get it mixed up because they still use both of the names in their social media. So those are definitely launches that I'm very interested in, but we will have to see. Like the Cosmic Brushes palette is pretty easy because that I can order directly from their website. They do ship from UK. It takes a bit more time these days because of Brexit, but the Cosmic Beauty palette, if it's something that really is appealing to me once the full color story is revealed, then I'm probably gonna be buying it. And then with the Maycroft and Blend Money collaboration, we will have to see like when is it coming to Monolith Shop and what other products are gonna be launching with it in the Monolith Shop launch, and then we're gonna see it if I end up buying that one. But comment down below what were your favorite launches from this week. If you like this video, push the like button, subscribe to the channel, and the bell button if you want to get notifications from future content. You can also find me with the same nickname, Makeup Hedgehog, on Instagram. I hope I can see you in another video. Bye bye!